Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Apologies for coming in a few minutes behind schedule. So sorry about that, but we're here now. And well, the topic this morning is to look at the currency, the scarcity of currency this close. That is talking about the currency change, the revision of the currency. But the other fact is that people have been looking for that currency. Even banks have not had the currency. You go to the banks, maybe until between maybe yesterday and today, they have started to actually issue through the those teller machines the revised versions of the Naira notes. But until certainly until last week, and even the beginning of this week, you wouldn't be getting currency, the revised currency out of the notes. Now, let's talk about that and why it is suddenly becoming a heck of a Herculean task to do which otherwise would have been such a simple operation. Well, my guest this morning, Mukhtar Mohammed, is a financial analyst, he's a stockbroker and CEO of Finance, with Mukhtar. Thank you very much, as always, Mukhtar, for coming on. Thank you very much. And we'll later on be joined by Mansour Ahmed, former president, manufacturer. Oh, he's actually there now. We also have Mr. Mansour Ahmed, former president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. A fine morning to you, Mr. Ahmed.
Hello, good morning. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. This is Yori Folani in the Lagos studio. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Yori.
All right, then. Okay, let me just start with you. This has become a problem. Can you understand why it has become a problem? But just before you go, let me play you this for the avoidance of doubt. Commentary has said that, look, it can't be the 31st that the existing Naira notes will not be legal tender. It can't be by, the end of the month. But President Buhari and the central bank governor and his team have said that there's absolutely no going back on this. The president spoke some time ago. This is well, in terms of what we're talking about now, this is a recent video of the president where he says there is no going back on this matter. Well, listen to this.
The governor of Central Bank convinced me that there is need to change it, and I agreed with him. Time has been given from October to December, 3 months. Is enough, whatever money you have, to get it changed through a legal system. So I don't know why people are complaining about it. There's no going back. There's no going back.
There you have it. The president saying there is no going back. So coming back to you, Mansour Ahmed, what do you make of this situation? Because apart from the president, everybody else seems to think that we do need more time to sort of get this thing on the right track. How say you, sir?
Well, thank you. First of all, I think one assumes that the president is not well informed about what is happening on the ground. Let me first state that the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics reported that 63% of Nigerians are in multidimensional poverty, which means 63%, over 130 million Nigerians are poor. Most of them are living outside the big cities. And poverty means, first of all, they don't have, it's not they may not, they don't have enough resources and cash to be able to keep money in the bank and for more than maybe just a few days. And to that extent, their life depends on their being able to transact business in small quantities, if you like, in small amounts, to buy food, to pay for hospital, to pay for drugs and hospital fees. Many of these people do not have the excess money to go and dump it in the bank and wait. And therefore, to create a policy which says they must return all the money to the bank in a situation where the bank cannot change that money immediately. What is happening is that the bank itself doesn't have enough new currencies to be able to change the currency for the majority of these people. And we're talking about over 60% of Nigerians. And I believe that if the president is informed about what is happening on the ground, he should know that these people are not just unwilling to return this money to the bank, they just are unable because that's what they need to live their life on a day-by-day basis.
Okay.
So it sometimes means to me that when we do policies, we don't really think about those at the bottom of the ladder. We only think about those that we believe can accommodate the policy if they want.
Okay.
Now, let me also look at the other side of the policy. You know, this policy has two prongs. One is that we are changing the color of the Naira, we are redesigning the Naira. And two, we are withdrawing the Naira and replacing it with the new Naira. And three, we also are going to change, to put limits to the amount of Naira of cash that people can withdraw. Now, let me put it this way. The currency, the change of color is not a problem for anybody. For the rich, most of them don't actually need to hold the Naira anyway. They have their ATM cards, they have ways of transacting businesses. They can go to the mall and buy anything they want to with their cards. So they don't need cash. But the poor, most of them don't have access to these e-banking facilities, and they need to have the cash in their hands. So if you just put such a limited time for them to change, you are creating huge problems and putting many of them in real trouble, putting them in distress. And this is happening on the ground everywhere outside, even within the major cities. Now, it seems to me strange that when the rich who have money in banks complain about the withdrawal limits, the central bank quickly went and changed their position and increased the withdrawal limit from 100,000 to 500,000. This is because these are the 40% of people who have mouth, who have wealth, who have money in the bank. These are the ones who complain, and the bank changes position. But when the poor people who are really in desperate need to be able to run their lives on a day-by-day basis, when they complain about the shortness of the period, the bank says, and the president says, there's no going back. I think this means to me, and I'm afraid this is what many poor people are now thinking, that Nigerian government is for the rich, not the poor.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed, thank you very much. I'll come back.
The complaints of the poor are not even listened to. Thank you.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Thank you very much for that opening gambit.
Thank you.
Mukhtar, when you look at it, you would think that people in charge of our finances, money, monetary policy, whatever it is, the technically correct thing that you people call it, making Naira notes available, should know what they're doing. So if they came up with this device, and you just heard the president say, even though he didn't say it yesterday, but it's still very much good for what we're talking about now, because the president has said there's no going back. The governor of Central Bank has said there's no going back. The National Assembly has invited officials that come and let's talk about us. We have to find a way to extend what you people have done because it's not working. No joy there. We're still we're not going back. How could this kind of a cock-up happen? It's even taking on a political significance now. With Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Abeokuta yesterday, actually, alleging that perhaps it's not accidental. Perhaps this is all very well thought out.
Well, for me, I think the CBN didn't get their act right, not with the timing. I mean, like Mr. President said, 3 months for me is enough for you to have return no matter the amount of money that you have in your house.
Do you also think that 3 months is adequate?
I think 3 months is adequate because I don't even, we're talking about the poor of the poor.
Yes.
How much do they have at home?
Okay, well, you saw trailer loads, well, those are not, they don't belong to the poor people.
They don't belong to the poor of the poor. So how much do they have at home? Most of the poor, they transact business with POS terminal. Do they have up to 100,000 in their house? Do they even have up to 20,000 or 10,000 in their house?
Not to mention the trailer loads we were seeing.
So they are not the men, they are not the people, though where I'm going is, like he was saying, I'm saying the CBN have not done their homework were in the area of enlightenment.
Okay.
They didn't get to this rural area.
Well,
on
they
time.
started that last week.
It's too short a time.
Too little, too late.
Too little, too late, because I expect them to have involved the National Retention Agency. I expect the CBN governor for the past 3 months to go through, not going to social media. How many of the poor, the rural people are in the social media? Should have gone to the rural area. You should have,
Which is why some people are thinking this is not an accident.
No, you should have gone to the rural area. You should have used the religious leaders. You should have used the emirs. You should have used the town criers. You should have, National Retention Agency from Bezawa, they are in every local government of Nigeria. So why didn't you use all those apparatus? Why are you waiting for 2 weeks to deadline to begin to say, oh, you need to tell them? I think that is where I think they've gotten it wrong. And it's going to take a lot, because there's a lot of logistics involved in it. If you print the Naira note, you print it, physical printing means it's not in Lagos, it's in Abuja. You have to take the logistic of moving it to the whole state of the federation. After that, it goes to the CBN books in those states. Then they have to disperse it to the banks. The banks have to disperse it to their various branches. It's a whole lot.
And now we're seeing, I'm seeing a notice purportedly coming from Central Bank that if you go to your bank and if the ATM gives you old notes, contact this very place and report them. They are saying that now. Since
I went to the time POS, ATM, I think sometime last week Friday, to withdraw one of the banks. The CBN told us that the ATM terminal will only be loaded with 200 Naira. But what I got paid was 1,000 Naira new notes.
That's right.
New note 1,000
That's
Naira,
right.
not the 200
No.
Naira. That is, and it seems to be that the only new notes that people, maybe about 80% of Nigerians have set their eyes on is the 1,000 Naira.
That's right.
Nobody seems to be knowing where the 200
Or
is
the 500.
and the 500 is. So I think for me, it's a big, big challenge to the CBN.
Okay, Mr. Monsa Mohammed, in addition to what you said earlier, would you weigh in on now what unfortunately has become speculative, which is that maybe this isn't an accident? I'm going back to, I don't want to bring politics into this, but since it was mentioned and we have this shortage of currency, we have this shortage of fuel, but we're talking currency for now, there are those now who are saying that fifth columnist, this is not an accident. How would you make sense of all of this?
Look, frankly, I don't care much about whatever political interpretation are being put. My concern is that any policy, if a government is going to put in place any policy, it must recognize that there are people who will be affected negatively by that policy and people who will be affected, perhaps who should be able to comply with the policy without pain. But all Nigerians are the same in the eyes of the Constitution. There should be no occasion where, because you are targeting people you are targeting specific people, that you will then put a large number of other people in unnecessary pain. That is irresponsible. Policies must ensure that whatever you want to achieve, you achieve it without creating pain on those who are not affected, on those that have not committed any offense.
That's right.
So in this context, when we introduce this kind of policy, shouldn't we have gone to say, look, okay, we want to target some people, whatever they are, whatever the problem, the issue is, we want to target them. How can we achieve our objective of targeting these people without creating pain to a lot of others? Because those others are also Nigerians, and they deserve to be protected. They deserve not to be put in any pain. Now, if indeed they have done their sums right, what they would have done is to recognize that, okay, for those people who don't really have large amounts of money in the bank that they can go and withdraw, or those people who cannot actually ensure that they change the money quickly and continue with their businesses, how can we make it easy for them? Nobody tries to think about them. In fact, people say, well, they can go to hell.
Well exactly. The president said that it's adequate at 3 months, that we've given them October, November, December. The president categorically said, I don't know what people are complaining about.
Let me ask that. When did the new currency begin to come out? The issue is that we are talking about people who should
December.
We are thinking only about people who should take their large sums of money to the bank and they have 3 months to do so. But what we are now seeing are people who, in the first instance, never had any monies in the bank.
That's right.
And the money they have in their hands are monies that they are using to run their businesses. Look at what is the capital for most of Nigerians? It is not more than about 20,000, 30,000 naira.
Okay, one moment, sir. I beg your
basis.
pardon for interrupting you. A caller has been waiting on the line, and indeed, let me apologize to Mr. Ade in the UK. Good morning to you, sir.
Your apology is accepted. Just give me time to explain myself. Regarding this central bank issue, Emefiele has got this thing wrong. I don't know why they allow him to punish Nigerians this way. Are you hearing me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I don't know why they allow him to punish Nigeria this way. Next year, we are changing our note here. And once we change the note, it will last for another 2 years. 2 years.
Okay, you're talking about the UK situation. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
We are putting the king. Yeah, we are putting the king picture there. But after that, it will last another 2 years before the other one will be illegal tender. Even then, you can still take it to post office and change it. That is United Kingdom. But talk of Nigeria, the president should understand no better that in the northern part of the nation, there are people there that there are no bank, nothing. Even let's talk about beggars. Beggars that are collecting money on the street. And you say, from Wednesday next week, their money will be useless. There will be riots everywhere because this is money that belongs to people. In Kano, Katikori and Singa, those two markets, the money they have there is enough to establish 3 banks in Nigeria. How do you want them to do that within a short period? It doesn't make sense. Maybe it's just taking anger, being angry about Nigeria. But I'm disappointed with your guests in the studio. You should know better. They have traveled abroad. He said 90 days is enough. 90 days is not enough. I have 150,000 with me. I have a friend who has 500,000 naira.
No, 30 days. What are we talking about? 3 months. 3 months, 90 days.
Look, about this 3 month thing, I think we should be.
Carry on, Mr. Ahmed. Yeah, about the 3 months thing.
We should be speaking about the period from when the new currency became available.
Which is December, I think.
The announcement of this, and I am absolutely certain, most 80% of Nigerians have not seen the new currency before the beginning of January.
That's right, that's right.
And so we have had only about 2 or 3 weeks. And within that period, how much of the new currency is available? Less than 10% of what is required even to meet the normal transactions. So you cannot blame Nigerians when you have not made adequate preparations to enable them to comply with your regulation.
Indeed.
And you say it doesn't matter, I have made my regulation and everybody must comply. This is wrong.
Indeed.
This is unfair.
Mukhtar, let me ask you.
We should not run.
Exactly. I beg your pardon. I was bringing it to Mukhtar. There are indications in the president's short clip that we played earlier. We might play it again. We think we'll play it again when we come back in from break. The president has said categorically that the legacy he wanted to leave was such that there was not going to be any room for thuggery or probably the use of money. So there were indications, subtle hints that didn't mean very much at the time beyond the normal. But in the light of nowadays, it's been lingering. Sitting here, the first time I actually was able to touch that money from an ATM machine was this month, in January this month. I'd been seeing it on television, not being able to grab hold of it. Fuel, petrol, people spend all their time at petrol stations. And now people are beginning to say that this whole thing is a ruse. It was planned. Now, I'm sure the president can't be happy with that. It was Mansour Ahmed who said that the president is not being fed with the right info. What would you think about that?
I think the president said it in his day click. He said, when the CBN governor came to me and made a presentation, I accepted it. I agreed with him. It convinced me. That was what the president used.
Yes.
It convinced me. So he's boy back to the CBN governor, and he has convinced the president with his slide and whatever. I'm sure he made his presentation to the CBN.
Yes.
Remember that Ms. Ahmed, the deputy governor, Aisha Ahmed, also went to the National Assembly and said, we have 500. Is it 500,000? We order for about 500. Is it 500 million?
In short, there wasn't any shortage of currency.
There wasn't any shortage that they have. The CBN last week said banks were refusing to collect the new note.
Can you believe
every bank that refuse to collect it will be fined 1 million naira every day. Now, the problem is when the banking committee meets, the MDs of these banks are there. When you want to know whether there's what the CBN is saying is the same with what the bank, they are on the same page, is when the CBN makes such an announcement, you see the bank reproducing such an announcement by sending mails to their customers. Once you don't see those mails from the bank, that means the CBN is just making, a political statement.
That's right. Okay,
because if you get from the bank, you've not received any mail from any bank telling you that we have the new note ready now, please bring it, and so that you can collect. All they are telling you is that the deadline is so and so time. That's what they keep saying.
That's right.
So,
and that there's no going back.
There's no, when you say there's no going back.
That's what they keep on saying.
When you talk about there's no going back, the CBN governor is, let me tell you, I've said it here on your program. I said, the redesigning of the new redesign of the Naira notes and other things had economic implication, but they were more political and security than economic.
Okay. Okay. You know, I think I've got to go on a break now. Mr. Mansour Ahmed, could you just hold on for us? We will just take this quick break and we'll be right back and continue with this conversation. Thank you very much. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back. We're looking at the troubles, the problems that Nigerians are facing trying to swap the Naira for the newly inked Naira. And we do have Funsho. First of all, my guest in studio, Mukhtar Mohammed in the Lagos studio here, financial analyst, stockbroker, and Mr. Mansour Ahmed, former president, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. He's joining us remotely. Funsho is in the UK. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. What I want to contribute to this matter going on the TM TV, which I'm watching now, the bank governor, who knows what he's doing.
The CBN governor.
He knows what is good for our economy.
Okay.
Now, I said the last day will be January 31st. Now, the president has spoken. The president said October, November, December, 3 months was enough. Not even December, even the month of January, making 4 months. Why can't they change their currency at that time? Those people pushing for extension, I tell you, they are politicians because they want the money to use for this election. They want to buy votes. They want to do everything for the election. I tell you, after the election, all these who are crying will go down. It is the politicians that are now. We should not succumb.
Okay. I hear you. Thank you very much, Funsho. You know, because I've been told that Mr. Ahmed does have to leave very, very shortly. Could you react to that perspective from Funsho in the UK?
Yes, as I said before, I think the issue of whether there is political intention, the political reason for this is irrelevant. My concern and my view is that whatever the intention of policy, government has options how it will achieve those intentions. And the core issue, they must choose options that may help them to achieve their policy objectives without putting pain on other people. My concern is that any government that introduces a policy that puts pain on 100 million, more than 100 million people, is an illegitimate government. It's unfair.
Okay.
Because they can find ways of getting those people they want to get to. If they believe that there are people who have huge amounts of money in their houses, they have ways of finding them and bringing them to book. Secondly, I do not believe that the banking system itself is not aware of those people they are trying to target. If they really mean to target people, they should go and find them. That is the responsibility of government. But to just do one size fit all and impose pain on millions of people unnecessarily. And I say unnecessarily because I'm absolutely certain there are ways in which they can achieve their objectives. Even the issue of vote buying. there are ways they can prevent it without necessarily putting pain on 100 million people. It is irresponsible to put 1 million or 130 million people in difficulty simply because you want to achieve some objective. Well, the role of government is to provide security and to ensure the livelihood of all Nigerians, the 200 million of us, not just to ensure that you address 1% or 10% or 40%, and then you tell the 60% to go to hell. That you're not going to change your policy.
I want to thank you very much, Mr. Mansour Ahmed, former President, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. I know that you have a flight to catch. Thank you very much for spending some of your morning with us. Appreciate you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And thank you for having me.
All right, then. So, as I said, there's that video, can we just get that video of the president again? We just, in case you missed it, we need to hear when the president spoke recently about this, that there is no going back.
The Governor of Central Bank convinced me that there is need to change it, and I agreed with him. Time has been given from October to December, 3 months. Is enough, whatever money you have, to get it changed through a legal system. So I don't know why people are complaining about it. There's no going back. There's no going back.
So you just said, I don't know why people are complaining.
No, you see, there's a, let's, I think that was Mr. Ahmed was trying to put in concept. Let's understand it. Return of money is different from having the money. What sense does it make for the past 3 months, people have been returning the old note, and they go to the bank, they give them back the old note.
Well.
So that's what has been happening until...
And not any amount you want of your own money.
No.
Now there are guidelines, regulations.
They give you the old note.
And then not in the
Then it came by January, he said, it was in January, he said, you cannot even withdraw above the counter certain amount of money. After that, when the new note came, they said you cannot even get the new note at the counter. The CBN sent a circular to the bank that they should rather put those new notes into the ATM machines.
So what is going on?
There's been a lot, like I said, like people said, it's more political. I mean, security, I could see the value in terms of security. The only way you can convince Mr. President is to tell him the security implication of it. I'm sure Mr. President will buy into it.
Okay.
And I think he has bought into the policy. And I think it's not only him that bought into it. The CBN governor came back again and said, there is no going back. Last week he said it. And all of a sudden, sometimes you begin to say there's always some issues that we don't know. Because when the CBN governor came last week and said, there's no going back, all of a sudden you go to the ATM machines, you begin to get the 1,000.
Yes.
You're not getting the 200.
You're not getting 200, you're not getting 500.
You're getting the one because they say there's no going back.
Do I have a caller on the line? I beg your pardon. Yes, Mazio Korafo.
Yeah, good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Good morning, Professor Mota.
Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning. Good morning. You see, there is something I discovered about Nigerian policymakers. We sit down and we do what we call garbage in, garbage out, and crash through them. What the CBN is doing now and going to the market to educate people, this is what they could have done before they introduce the money, or immediately that 1 week after the introduction of that money. Now, do you know that in my place now, people know my son went to buy charcoal, which they pay 200 Naira. The woman did, people don't have bluntly say they are not accepting the old money that 31st is around the corner. And that was all. There was no burning of a beef with the charcoal. Everything ended up like that. Now, the community are now rejecting the collection of the old money. I was expecting CBN. You said you have given new currency to the banks, and the banks are holding it. You have not come to parade some people in the television for us to be sure what they are saying. That is the agenda of contradictory message. So what the CBN should do now, between now and Sunday, and I'm just going on Nigeria, please, do not go and keep this money so that by next week Sunday, you can't do offering in the church. It is a crime and it's a sin. Because when Nigeria will keep, all those money will not use by next Sunday, they'll go and use it as an offering in the church, which is not good.
Yes.
But what I want CBN to do now is this. One, they should now go now and see that how they can do that. All this new money will spread. If their staff can go, and that was what I said, let them employ ad hoc staff.
Carry this money, go to community and exchange it with the people. Collect the old money, give them new money, and go. It will, at least during that time, in the olden day, that was the
At least do
but I don't know what
something.
happened.
Exactly. Do something. Well, thank you very much, Mazi, for calling in. Because, by the way, you probably read it this morning as well. Chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, Professor H.S. Sage, he has, thrown in with Asiwaju's viewpoint that he believes somebody, his words, according to the headline, are playing games. That, look, you have this shortage of currency, combine that with this shortage of fuel, so people are queuing. He says that he is of the considered opinion that all of this is to cause disaffection for the ruling party, and whoever is the candidate of the ruling party might get some flack from it. That was Professor Sage throwing his hat into the
Well,
ring.
like I said, I remember what the late President Sani Abacha said some time ago. He said, when insecurity persists after a particular time, that means there's an insider.
Yes, that means there's an insider.
So
there.
if the government of the day, are complaining, then mean there's somebody inside that is our. It's not left for them. We are not interested in all Nigerians are saying that we need fuel.
And
we need the new Naira note. If you want to give us the new, that's all we are saying. It's not rocket.
To get on with our lives.
It's not rocket science.
Yes.
We've known that since October in Abuja, it started from sometime almost June. They've been queuing for fuel. Lagos started October, November, December, January. It keeps getting worse by the day.
And they keep on telling us there is no shortage of
there's
fuel.
no shortage of fuel.
We have a stockpile for 3 months.
Nobody has been fired.
Yes.
So who is responsible? The only sole distributor of petroleum products in Nigeria, the only importer of petroleum products in Nigeria is NNPC.
And Asiwaju took time to remember that it is President Muhammadu Buhari that is the Minister of Petroleum. Although haven't made that statement, he then moved forward. He didn't dwell on it, but he had made the explanation.
No, you see, when you look at it, if you look the headline today in some paper is Asiwaju criticized Mr. President. So that's another story that will begin to unfold during the week. But I think for me, the main challenge that we have there is that this policy were not without the approval of Mr. President.
It cannot be. It's not possible.
The shortage we have there that in NNPC refinery selling PMS at 185, and the Minister for State for Petroleum came and said, we have not ordered any. NNPC.
I remember. Nobody gave them the right.
Nobody gave them the right. And today, every filling station, both independent, major marketers and NNPC are selling at 185. And independent marketers, those that they are selling at 260, they are not hiding it. Nobody has been arrested.
Nobody.
Nothing is being done.
So you begin to wonder.
You begin to wonder that are we in a banana republic whereby anybody can just wake up and set rules and it works? So there is something fundamentally wrong with everything that is happening now.
There is more to this.
There's more to this that meets the eye. But again, the politicians, when you see politicians start talking, you know it's affecting them seriously.
Yes.
And all Nigerians, why Nigerians are not with the politicians is because they feel that the politician needs this money for vote buying. It has been, when you keep doing things over and over, people begin to associate it with you, even when you are saying something that is true.
Yeah.
Nobody's listening to them. Everybody's saying, even the National Assembly, you remember that the Senate said something. He said, the Senate President, I can't forget, he said, any policy that Mr. President approves is good for the Nigerian people. As I were talking now, the Senate has not come out categorically to criticize the CBN. It's the House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. I remember that right when the policy came in, the Honorable Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, had been complaining and saying it's not a well thought out policy. And remember, when you see APC, PDP come together over a policy, you know that the politicians are being affected. Because the governor of Adamawa State, that is a PDP, came and said that the policy was targeted at politicians and political parties.
That's right. Well, the president in that little clip, he did say that he was concerned about people having as much money as they could get their hands on legitimately, which is why we have all of this situation on the ground. He was mindful, if not fearful, of the fact that it might be put to ulterior use, aka vote buying, the whole electioneering, and everybody knows that politics is an expensive. Now, it mustn't be thought that for 1 second we are even saying that there's anything wrong with the noble idea of Mr. President that I don't want to hear of all those criminalities,
Uncle Yori.
all those financial criminalities. I don't want to hear about them. But is this the way to go?
It's not the way to go, but let's look at it, why this policy came to be. Economically, we are fighting inflation. One of the major tools you use to fight inflation is reduction in liquidity in the system.
Okay.
And now the CBN said 80% of the money, the old Naira note that the CBN prints, is out of the banking space. Now, what happened to those money that are out of the banking space? Those money that were out of the banking space were the money that were being used to drive the exchange rate between the Naira and the dollar because they were not in the banking space. The CBN says, look, we want to deal with inflation. We need to get those liquidity there. Then it's a tool that we use to deal with inflation. That's our tools. Secondly, the security agent says that most of the money outside were money that are gotten dubiously. So bring back this money to the banking space.
And also, I think they also threw in all these kidnappers and all these criminals.
Yeah, that is the security side of it.
That's the security side of it. So there wouldn't be even the money.
Yeah. So everything came to, it was a well thought out policy. Remember, again, before that policy came out.
When you say it was well thought out.
It's well thought out in terms of what it was going to achieve.
Okay.
Remember,
but the implementation.
The implementation is where I'm getting the CBN. Maybe they didn't get their act together, especially with the rural people. In the urban area, I have no doubt that everybody that is in Lagos, Abuja, should by now have returned his old Naira note, can easily walk into any place and return it.
That's right. But Mukhtar, when you say just in the rural area, in the urban areas, you just said it, I said it, I say it is in this January that I saw
no,
that
we are talking about return.
Oh, well,
you know, when you get it, anytime you get it, for the rural people,
swapping. We are talking about swapping.
Good. For the rural people, it's more difficult for them. There's no bank to just go in on the 31st and return and say, okay, I'll come back on the 1st of February. And like Alhaji Ahmed said, most of these rural people live day by day.
That's right.
So they need those money. Now, when you come to implementation, if you realize what the CBN said was this policy is going to help bring down inflation. If you look at the data that has come out from Bureau of Statistics, it has brought down, even if it's marginal. Secondly, remember, immediately that policy came to play, the Naira to the dollar was, people were even saying it will reach 8,000.
That's right.
Now, all of a sudden, we are hovering between 700, 750.
Yes.
So you could say that policy has made a shape. It has shaping something.
Yes.
And those were key drivers. But for the ordinary Nigerians, the man in the rural area, this policy is going to bring a lot of pain to them because even the POS terminals don't even have the new note. And you say that you are creating, they should return it to the PS terminal. Does the PS terminal have an extension to return the old Naira note? That's another thing. Like Mazio Koraba said, we should do the moment you get your staff, get help of staff, take this money to the rural area and swap it for them. Have you forgotten that insecurity is everywhere? Mazio Koraba for Inaora, I'm sure if you tell him to move from there to one side in Imo State now, he will tell you he's not going. So there's a lot of...
There's really a lot going on here. The intentions might have been right, but immediately people saw Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the rally in Abeokuta yesterday, and it's clear to him, at least, that all of this is not just happenstance.
But again, Ashwaji should look at it that his party is the party in government.
Well, yes, that's another point I wanted to bring up.
His party is the party in government.
So you would think that...
his party, the president, which is the leader of his party, approved this policy. The president has said there's no going back. The central bank governor, with the confident and aura he was talking in after the MPC meeting, you know that he has the... This is a governor that before he came in, we thought by the time he comes in, DSS, but today is talking with so much confidence that
you begin to wonder what exactly is happening.
We're talking about petroleum. You realize, I keep saying it's only in Nigeria, Uncle Yori. We are here. We see a snake right in front of us. You say, Uncle Yori, don't talk anything about it. Wait. We need to set up a committee on how to kill this snake. And we all go back and set up a committee. And then the committee will begin to talk whether the hunters or the police or who are we going to use to kill the snake. And we think the snake will still be there waiting for us
to make up our minds.
Petroleum Society say they have come up with 14-man panel to make sure that there's no scarcity. 14-man panel. So it is today, it's this week that they realized that they need to set up a 14-man implementation committee. Yet we have people that were the former DPR were supposed to be the ones to go to filling station to make sure that products that are brought there are sold. Uncle Yori, in Lagos, if you want to get fuel, don't go to all the fuel stations along Ikorodu route. Just go to Munshi, inside Munshi, and there's so much fuel, but
you buy it at
250, 260.
And then the other thing that is happening is that people are actually they're risking their lives by driving to fuel stations about 2 a.m.
Yes.
They say 2:30, 3 a.m., that's when you can get fuel. What is that?
I don't want to tell you, a particular filling station sells fuel for 260 during the day. In the night, you go there, you see those boys are out with keg, and they say they are no more selling, and those boys are selling for 300. Right in front of the filling station. You know, in Nigeria, a lot of things happen.
All these things happen.
In Nigeria, it's only in Nigeria, in front of the filling station, you see somebody selling fuel. It's only in Nigeria, in front of the police station, you see a roadblock.
Yes.
A roadblock in front of a police station.
Let's hear from Mike, calling in from Sweden. Good morning, Mike.
Hello, Uncle Yori. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to contribute to the topic of the day. Okay. To me, I believe that President Muhammad Buhari has a good reason for doing what he's doing. And I believe it's for the good of Nigeria. Because, if Naira should be in circulation in this general election, I believe the politicians are going to use it against the citizens. And that is why he's doing what he's doing. He's doing it for the good, for the sake of the good of the Nigerian people, not for his own benefit. He said he wants to leave a good legacy. I would believe he has a reason of doing it. So we should applaud him for what he's doing, okay?
Indeed. Well, thank you very much. That's Mike's take from Sweden, because I was going to come there. Wait a minute. Listen to the president for a moment. His concern seems to be, I want a level playing field. I don't want anybody to come and distort anything with, for example, money.
Well, again, what other people will say that, is it because Mr. President is so much ready to go to Daura now? So he's talking about, I want to leave a legacy. When the last election was held, when he wasn't saying this kind of a thing. Why did he not at that time say what he's saying now?
Yes. I mean, I'm taking it from the fact of what Mike in Sweden, also helped us with.
Like I said, the policy.
Can you fault the president's wanting to bring? Because
I'm not faulting the president.
Because unfortunately,
it's a good policy. Like I've said, it's a good policy.
He's trying to be fair.
He's trying to be fair, which is okay. Which I mean. He's trying to leave a legacy.
He's trying to write his legacy.
Rewrite his legacy, because that's on that thing. Because when you talk about legacy, you need to go back 7 years. How much was fuel when he came in? How much are we paying? What was the exchange rate? We don't want to go into details of that. So he wants to leave us with a good legacy. He wants to give us a good election, so that we know that whoever is there, that is free of vote buying. He came in, money but he knows he himself came say that he came in. When he came in, they had a good election that he won.
Yes, he won.
He won. He even won the incumbent president at that time.
That's right.
The election was good. So
so and all these monies,
election money were the election. We don't need rocket science. You don't need rocket science to get a good legacy or leave an election legacy. You just need to come with a system. And INEC has come with a good system, which we credit to him. He signed the Electoral Act. And remember that act also was not signed, even when that act was supposed to be signed before his own time of his election. He didn't sign it. So There's a lot of things. So when you are talking about a good legacy, we must look for where are you coming from. What was the legacy and what? So that's why people think, somebody like Ashwaju would think, they are against me. The only thing he stopped telling, the only thing he didn't say was that he's not saying that people that are in government, that are members of my party are against me, because that's the only thing you can be saying, because this policy is not thought out by PDP, neither by Labour Party or neither by NNPP. This is a well thought out policy of
the ruling party,
which you belong to.
Well, let's leave it there. It's a fine cliffhanger at which to leave it, Mukhtar, if you get my meaning. Thank you very much, Mukhtar Mohammed, analyst, financial analyst and stockbroker, CEO of Finance with Mukhtar. And also our thanks to Mansour Ahmed, former president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, who was with us earlier. And we thank him for that because he actually had a flight to catch. But he said, look, I'll see what I can do. So we thank him. And we thank you too for being with us and also contributing to the program. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Bye-bye for now.